Tonight I'm going to walk you through a little bit of my tuning, the overall balancing of frequencies in the vehicle so that all the frequencies across the band are represented equally at the driver's seat. Here we go. Now on my poor man's setup, I'm running the mic from this tablet, so it's not ideal. It's also located up here by the steering wheel, which is not ideal, but it works. And I'm running this app. I'll show you the app name. It's called RTA Pro. You can use this with a mic, so if you've got a RTA mic, you can use this app with the mic. This is a free app, and it works really well. So you can set different times, and I like to, whenever I'm doing a tune, I set the to extra slow so that it just finds a nice spot and kind of stays in that general area, and I'm not trying to guess it when it's bouncing up and down really fast. So I set it to extra slow, and I like to run it on 20 bands. So you see, oops, hit the screen. You select number of bands, you can select different. So I run it at half octaves. It just works for me. You can run it as many bands as you want. You can run 120 bands if you want to. And this may work for you. And ideally, if you've got a 30 band EQ, for example, you can set it to 30 bands. And then each one of these bands could represent a marker on your EQ. The problem is you don't know what frequency they are. It doesn't change the nomenclature down here on the bottom to give you a specific frequency for each band. That's the downside of this software. So you're kind of guessing, you know, and it grows exponentially. So down here, 4 bands goes from 32 to 64 hertz, but up here 4 bands goes from 2000 hertz to 4000 hertz, and it keeps doubling as it goes up. So it's not perfect, but it is something to start with. And I have it froze. So there you go. It does work. A better RTA is going to be better, obviously, but this one will at least give you something to start with and kind of understand the concept. Okay, on Pink Noise, this is the slope of my right door, those guys. So I've got that tuned to this slope, and it's looking pretty good. Now I need to do the same thing with that one. Unfortunately, I can't show you because I use my phone, which is what I'm recording with, to adjust everything. So I'll show you the results afterwards. All right, I froze this one. This is the EQ curve for the driver's side door. Again, mid bass. The A pillars aren't on yet, so we're just looking at that single channel with those two mid-woofers giving me this curve. It's looking good so far. It's not too shabby. There's a bit of a dip right here, but it's really hard to get that out. I'm going to see if I can get it a little bit better, but ultimately that's not bad considering the positioning of everything. All right, so I didn't lock it, but that is left and right doors together, looking pretty good. I got the dip out on that one channel. I had to bring down some of the bands. Oh, should I unfroze it? I had to bring down some of the bands after it and some of the bands before it to level it off. And so, but yeah, it's looking pretty good. I'm ready to do the A pillars now. All right. Now we're looking at the passenger side tweeter, and don't pay much attention to this. This is ambient noise. This is my tweeter curve right here. All the other stuff, oops, I unfroze it. Let me pull the tweeter back up. So I turn it down, you can see the ambience. Okay, you see my voice go. So you know what not to look at, right? So that's my passenger tweeter. I noticed that 2K was a little bit hot when I started, so I got it toned down. I also noticed there was quite a bit of a drop off up here in the 16 to 20K range, which you really don't hear much of it anyway, but I wanted to twinkle it a little bit more. So a 16K was down here. I managed to get it up a little higher. And overall, I think it's a better sprinkle. Let's get the driver's side done now. Let me freeze this real quick. All right, so this is the driver's side, and this is what I'm starting with. I use the auto tuning wizard to get it to this stage, but it does flatten it off up here, which is really a good thing. This particular side's registering a better 16 to 20K, but overall it's not a bad slope. And mainly, ideally, you want this to appear flat on a pink noise track, because pink noise naturally gives you the slope whenever you set it to pink noise is relatively flat. You're going to get a more of a slope in the middle, because it's just the way the human ear works. And that doesn't mean you need to make it a hard line, but it means you want to make sure there's not any, when you get your full signal pulled up, you don't want to see any big gouges or anything, because that's going to be information that you're missing. But that's my driver's side tweeter and mid, those guys. So let me pull up the whole shebang. Alright, so this is the whole front stage without the subwoofer, and you'll notice that there's a gap over here that gets filled in by the subwoofer. But pay attention to this overall graph. You notice that it's dipping between around 1 and 2K, from about 500 hertz up to about 3K. There's a bit of a dip that is not EQ'd in. That is what's happening in the vehicle. I mean, like, I haven't tried to make that dip. There is one. So in order to figure out why that dip is there, if we want to get rid of it, is we need to figure out what information is lacking. So I need to pull up and look at what speakers are not participating here, and it may be a crossover point that I can sort this out with. So I'm going to check that too. Alright, so I think I found it. This is channel 2 by itself, which is that guy. And you'll notice that there's a dip right here on channel 2. So what I need to do is boost this up a little bit, and that, because channel 1's got a pretty good filled in, but channel 2's got a little Q out. So I'm going to boost up the 15 kilohertz with a little bit of a spread, try to get that up a little bit. Alright, so, and that is the passenger side kick, and I got rid of that drip over there, a little loss in signal. I can't really do anything about getting 250 any higher. I brought down these to match it up some, so I'm going to put them all together again and see what the whole signal looks like. Alright, so that is what we're working with right now without the subwoofer turned on. And you notice that's much smoother. There's not any areas that are really jumping out. Alright. So that's all the channels with the subwoofer just barely turned on to bring in that. That's a pretty good curve all the way around, guys. If you can hit this, with all of the sound together, this is a great starting point to build a tune on. If you're wanting to do a driver's side tune where your imaging is up here, then there are some changes that have to be made, but you need to get to this point first. You need to get to a good, solid, even tune to where everything at this position is producing the same sounds as perceived at this spot in the vehicle. So this speaker needs to sound the same as this speaker at this location, because there's a different path for the sound from this guy to get to you than there is for the sound from that guy. So that path is going to color how it sounds once it gets right here. So you need to get them all to where they're sounding the same at this point, and that's your starting point for getting that amazing soundstage.
You're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong.
Alright guys, subwoofer's on, everything's on. I'm trying to sub up just a little bit. Going to get it at a reasonable flat. Now I'm going to show you something. Let's see. Alright, I'm going to show you something on the stereo. So, we go in here and we're going to use the bass boost, and we're going to do the different boost, and I'm going to show you what happens to the EQ when we do that. So, we're going to hit the slight button. I'm going to turn it up a little louder so you'll notice this area went up right here. I'm going to go to moderate. And I'm going to go to super. That's a substantial amount. We're looking at boosting everything from below 32 up to about 100 hertz. I'm going to go to off again. It's pretty significant. And that doesn't just boost. That's not just boosting the subwoofer channel, because this is just sending a stereo signal back. That's boosting all the speakers. So whenever you bass boost, you're boosting your mids, your mid bass, all of that's getting a boost. So if you decide to use that, be really careful. Also know that right now all of this is below, there's nothing in here that's above the neutral line, okay? And when you're on an EQ, you know, going down and up, you're going to go down, always adjust the levels down, right? So everything is below neutral or down. But whenever you add bass boost, now you're pushing that signal into an area where the signal itself starts to distort. And that distortion will be detectable a lot of times. And it's also rough on the equipment. So keep that in mind. Bass boost is usually not a good thing. If you're going to do bass boost, make sure you're only using it for really low volume listening. You're cruising with, you know, your wife and your kids, and you got a little music playing in the background softly. You can have it boosted just to add a little fullness to it, but you damn sure don't want to have that running whenever you're getting ready to turn that knob to the right, because they're gonna mess things up. I'm gonna play some tracks that I created so I can play them on here. You guys can kind of see the curve that I've got going right now. sub down. Guys, I hope you all found this informative and helpful. I know I didn't show you the adjustments on the EQ for each of the things I was doing, but understand that I had a separate EQ for the channel. When I brought up the EQ on the RTA, I brought up the display on the RTA. I went into my software for my DSP. I selected the channel that I was working on, turned off all the other channels, just running to one. I selected the EQ for that channel, and I EQ'd it to be mostly flat. The mid-range EQ has a lower frequency cutoff and an upper frequency cutoff. In that case, that EQ is going to look like a hill. The tweeter and mid combo is going to look like it goes up and then goes flat straight. The subwoofer is going to come in and then drop. So you end up with something that looks similar to that. And whenever you run them all together, you should end up with a mostly flat line. If you have any big dips or any sharp angles anywhere, you need to address it. It should be fairly smooth. Elsewise, you'll have songs where you hear the wrong thing. You'll be like, man, there's something weird going on there. I don't know what that is. It won't do it in another song. It'll only do it in that song, because that song is doing something at that frequency where you got that problem, and you're hearing something that's too loud or too soft and it's throwing you off. You play a different track and it's fine, and you won't be able to figure out why. The reason is that particular track is bringing out a problem and showing it to you. This is why when you're doing SQ tuning, after you get done with your pink noise, then you go in and play some tracks you're familiar with and listen to them at a reasonable volume, because you're going to hear things that you might not have heard. You may not hear it in 4 or 5 tracks, but in that one track you're going to hear something weird, and that something weird is calling your attention to something that you need to address. Anyway, hopefully this was helpful. I like to throw out videos to let you guys know what's going on and what I do. And you see it's dark. It's like 2 in the morning, and I'm out here in the parking lot tuning my car because I'm crazy like that, and that's how most of us SQ guys are. And the bass heads too, because I'm kind of both. I'm an SQ guy and a bass head. Hence the fact that I got those 4 big huge magnets sticking up back there. Good times all around. Peace, guys.